All right. Okay. So I may have started it like a bit just like that, but just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all. I thought it would be nice that I would come on here and do like a live stream, the final live stream of 2022. And in this video, folks, I'm just going to be talking about how the year 2022 was for me. It's been a very eventful year, a lot of highs and some lows there, but overall, it's been a major step in the right direction. So yeah. That being said, anyone who's staying tuned, and also anyone who's watched my videos this year, anyone who's subscribed, anyone who has gone to my social media links, definitely want to say a big thanks to all of you. 2023 is going to be a major step above for sure. Let's put the music down. We're going to start very soon. Get the water. Right. So where to begin? 2022. This year really started with a bang. At the time when 2022 started, I was still in Mexico now because those of you who don't know, currently I'm now in Toronto, Canada. I spent a good time in Mexico. I had a major good experiences. Learned as much of my Spanish I could learn, and I also met so many different and influential people from the time from the time I started in Mexico to the time now being in Canada, and it was great. So the start of this year for me was, if I will say, it was a very kind of tricky situation because at the time when I came to Mexico, I was legit building the plane while flying it. I had no long term goal with my time in Mexico. I was still trying to hustle so many different ways and really just trying to kind of find some stability with my vida, with my life. So it wasn't around that time in January. I remember I just taken a trip from Mexico City because I was based in Mexico City. From Mexico City, I took a trip to Tijuana, and from Tijuana, which I'd never ever done before, I was able to actually cross the border from Tijuana, Mexico, to San Diego, California, which was such an enlightening experience. It was the first time I'd ever walked into the USA because I would fly from Europe, and it was amazing. It was amazing. I spent just only a day over there, but I was able to just experience the different side of the USA culture and the American culture at that time. And it was whilst I was in Tijuana, that time I was just there just for under a week, me and my girlfriend. I was able to kind of come back and just see, okay, what do I need to do? I want to be in this part of the world, North America, Mexico, Canada, and also North USA. Funny enough, the World Cup's going to be there in 4 more years, so looking forward for that. But I really want to be in this side of the world. And this was the first year of all that I ever crossed through the borders from Mexico to America. And then later on in this past year, I went from the Canada border to the USA border when I went to New York City. So going back to that time when I was in Tijuana, I was really able to think of like which different ways I can hustle because if you don't know, I have a background in fitness where I was working from the years of 2015 to 2020. And then when the pandemic started, the COVID 19, where people had to stay in and get locked down, I started working as an English teacher. So almost like 2 years now, 1 year and a half, more or less, I've been working as an English teacher and I've been teaching so many students across the world. So that's been really in line and it's been really encouraged me to start traveling more. So, but the reason that was even I was even able to get most of these students was that trip in Tijuana. When I was there, I was able to kind of brainstorm, okay, what ideas do we need to do to get my stuff on to the next level? So I was brainstorming, I was thinking of ideas, and it just so happened like around the time just after my birthday in February, I was able to really go forward with like teaching online. I was able to get more students, and some of the students I'm friends with now, and some of the students I have, I hope to meet in the future. So that was really one of the, as I said, like the most, like as I said, in the January it was very tricky. At the time I was still kind of like didn't have really like a full long term plan. It was around the summer when I crossed over to New York. I was really like, okay, we came here with nothing, and it's like now we have all this. We can actually do it. We just have to believe. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna get my stuff sorted in Mexico and get my stuff sorted in Canada, as I'm now in this position. And the next year is just to get this like residency in both of these countries. This was amazing. So yeah, so from the reason I even tell that story, as long-winded as it is that I came from a very difficult situation of leaving a lot. Like because when I left the United Kingdom, I left legit everything. I left like friends. I left some people. I left people that necessarily I needed to cut off. And this actually goes on to my next thing of like what another thing I learned from 2022. One of the reasons I'm even in this position now is was developing the backbone. You For a lot of people, especially the men, and I'm sure like the manosphere, and this I'll talk about it. Guys in 2022, they need to have a backbone. Honestly, I don't care what your stature is. I don't care how much money or peas you have in the bank. You need to have a backbone, and you need to say when no means no. If you need to cut off some people that are not adding any value to your life, you need to do that. And I used to fail on this big time because, especially pre 2020, I was that guy trying to be friends with everyone. I was that one like, oh yeah, it's okay. I was very, very passive. And I was always thinking like, yeah, I'm gonna be like 25 forever. But you're fooling yourself if you believe that. The time is going to go, and you really need to get your shit together and update your wallet. Which thank you for GQ Jamal for that. Subscribe to his channel for sure. So because of that kind of change, especially with how I was and how I am currently now, a lot of stuff I was able to get done, even to a bigger extent with bigger success because I had a fucking backbone. You understand? So because of that, because of that, my time, like I said, like I spent a good time in the summer in New York and in Canada. And when I was in New York and Canada, I was able to make like good friends and also just kind of network because that's one of the best things I've even learned coming, especially doing these like travels and being in this side of the world, is that I was able to network with people who, as I even link it back to in the past in like UK, I had to cut away people who weren't adding value to your life. You automatically get them in different shapes, forms, different shapes and sizes if you put yourself in these kind of positions. Hence, when I was in New York City, I was able to network with different like-minded people that weren't the usual bunch of people that I used to hang out with before. Case in point, you got to take risks. You got to take risk, and it doesn't matter sometimes how many times you failed. All you need to do, folks, is just pass one time. But you got to take risks in this world. Honestly, what's so cool is the same time I came to Mexico and embarked in this adventure. One of my good roommates, one of my friends, Felicia, shout out to him. He moved to Australia. So when I came to Mexico, he went to Australia, and we both were at one position 2 years ago when we first met in the heart of the pandemic, and we were both thinking of like, what are we gonna do to really live our best life? We can what are we gonna do now? He had to dream to Australia, and I was gonna come to this side of the world, Canada, America, and Mexico, and we both did it. We said the first words we said 2 years ago, and 2 years now we are both live and in color doing this now. But just like him, we both had to develop the backbone of cutting people out of our life that bring no value, ain't trying to push us forward, are getting jealous because of your success, you're enjoying your life. You need to get rid of those people ASAP, Rocky. And that's probably one of the biggest things I've learned, not even just this year, but especially since the pandemic began. You got to get rid of people like that. Honestly, it's one life. Take your life seriously. I only sometimes wish I had learned this before. in my 20s, but it's never too late to learn. But that was one of the biggest like lessons I learned from 2022. And yeah, and also I think what's even cool I learned as well is I'm gonna give shout out to my girl is I think relationships, especially for a lot of people, and this is gonna go into another subject. A lot of people have to deal with relationships in this pandemic year. So there's primarily if we say 2022, early 2022 to now, it's pretty much been like this COVID years of where people have been working from home in some shape or form. Someone knows someone who has caught the COVID, and sometimes it has been like a casualty in some cases. So it has been very kind of hard to manage relationships of friends and family. How you're going to speak? Like I got one of my family members, my close family members. I've not been able to even see her for 2 years now because of the COVID. She's based in Morocco and I'm based here. So that's something I've had to deal with of just only being contacting her through voice messages, through having video calls, Zoom. So there is that, and that really can affect people's kind of like the way they conduct themselves because especially pre 2020 we were so used to always meeting people. You're going to restaurants, you're going to cinema, you're socializing with people. And when that changed of being isolated and you're only going to see people like on your screen or your electronic device, it changes. And some people can hang, and some people unfortunately didn't hang with that. And it was a major these 2 years because I feel like maybe we're possibly now coming to the end of that, of these lockdowns and vaccines and COVID. But these 2 years has been a big adaptation for not only me, but a lot of other people have have had to go through a big adaptation in these last 2 years. You understand, and that's what I'm saying. Like me, I have like a full time. I have a full time, and especially with me, like I have my partner, my girl, and that even that sometimes of like especially because you're so used to you, especially these 2 years, you're so used to being isolated. You're trying to find that time of that balance of when is the correct times to see them and manage that with your hustles and work. So it did affect a lot of people's mind. I know it did affect me, and that was if I talk about like the tricky part, that was one part like I really had to adjust with that, especially in this year, because when the hustle and the work keeps going, and again you're have to again like keep yourself isolated. You have to find a way to manage that to spend time with your partner. And I think that's just the point of becoming a man, of like you're gonna be able to manage your time effectively and also, ladies and gents, have time to spend for you. So that was like another big part. It's just like kind of managing relationships, and then with people who are close to you, with people who are close to you, and just kind of understanding that you need time for you. I need which time, you need your time and that. And this leads me, especially leads on to the next point I want to talk about is, and it is a dark subject to talk about, but I'm sure a lot of people are aware of what happened to the dancing sensation superstar who was on the Ellen DeGeneres show, Twitch, Stephen Twitch Boss. This one really, of all the tragic losses that we've had this year from Jason David Frank, from Kevin Samuels. I think this one really was the most shocking and probably was the most hurtful because I remember, as me, I'm not even a fan of Ellen DeGeneres, but I always remember this sweet dancing dude on her show. It was just so. It just felt so, it was like the most likable dude. Like no one could say anything bad of him. And one fateful day, he just decided to call it quits. He offed himself. He self-deleted. And what bugs me so much is like when you see the images and you see his family, like his wife is smoking hot, like I'm not gonna grade her, but she is beautiful. And he left these three beautiful, I think it was three or four beautiful kids at home, and it was just and when he decided to self delete himself, it was around the Christmas time. So his kids and his beautiful wife spent Christmas and now in the New Year's without their dad. You understand? And sometimes you really look at it like when that happened, he looks like the happiest guy in the world. Like he's got pretty much everything a man can want. Beautiful wife, beautiful family. I'm sure he's doing well financially. And one day he was just feeling that pressure and he just decided to say, nah, man, no mas, no mas. You understand? So when I do look at that stuff, because I've said it many times, I said this even on my Kevin Samuel stream. I'm gonna say it again: is the life is super super short. A lot of people think we say it as a figure of speech, but it really fucking is, and you really gotta take advantage of every day. Sometimes even if, and this is one thing I really loved in Mexico, where I could just be walking the street, someone who I didn't even know, I can just say buenos dias, que pasa. I can try have a conversation in my, in my the best of my Spanish as I can. But we appreciated it. We appreciate that moments we could see someone because we don't know what's gonna happen the next day. And some people just gotta do that. And that goes on the same thing with like going after your dreams because at least Steph, Twitch boss can say he was a somebody. But a lot of these people wish they could be wish they could be in these positions, but they'll never do it. You understand? And that, as I said, that one really got me thinking a lot because there's a lot of times, a lot of people, as I said, we're all human. We all have bad days and good days, and I'm sure like a lot of people, we were watching this now. You have someone you reach out to if you're going through struggles, someone you talk to about personal problems, but sometimes that's not enough. I do genuinely believe, and this is something I'm learning. This is another point I'm learning. Another thing I've learned this year is to just sometimes take some time for you. This weekend, for example, is New Year's weekend. Last weekend was the Christmas weekend. I just took this time off for me. I'm in Canada now. It's been cold as a motherfucker, but I just take time to watch my movies, plan out what I'm gonna do for next week, do my training, go over some even my Spanish. Like I just sometimes take time. You sometimes need that mode where you can just like take yourself out of the equation and just like be in your own zone. And I think that's important. I think so, even sometimes just coming off social media because I think even this can be a mental health motherfucker if you're always on there. So that's really the keys as well. And it's one thing I've learned is like sometimes I'm not saying isolate yourself from everyone, but there are some days you just need to wake up and just be with you. Just need to think like, okay, well, what does Richard want today? What does Richard really want to do today? Not what he should do. What does he really want to do that would not affect his mind and sanity later? So that was really, yeah. So that was sad. And as I said, I mentioned Jason David Frank, that happened, and Kevin Samuels, who was so big and instrumental this year. And Kevin Samuels, as I said on my stream, I'll definitely put the link down. Is why that one was so that one was hard in a different way because he was such a motivator for me. Again, I got into him and like the red pill and all that manosphere community in 2020 when we were locked in our house and kind of like losing our minds. Those kind of people like Kevin Sanders, like AMS, Steph Schofield, Fearless, those people were giving me a lot of motivation and determination to kind of like shape my life up and stop making excuses and start making results. It was those ones. And I think Kevin Samuels was like the head, he was like big dog off that. So it was really sad and it was just all of a sudden, but at least he left with fulfilling his destiny as well. So yeah, so honestly, that's really much mostly what I've learned like this year in 2022. Yeah, as I said, a rundown now for me again. You gotta take risks. Honestly, me coming to Mexico, especially during the COVID time, super risk. No habla español, no yo pensando. I didn't speak a lick of Spanish. I didn't know no hombre, no chica. I didn't know the map. I didn't know nada. But I took that risk. And a year later, I feel so comfortable I can go back to Mexico from the friends and also my understanding how the people and how the culture works there. So you gotta take risks. I'd say definitely number two, you gotta cut people out who are not making value to your life. As I said, if you see my TikToks, I say this all again. I was the dude before surrounding myself with 30-year-old guy who had the most ugliest, and probably still had the most ugliest chica in the world. And he was complaining about like, oh, the Hodge twins suck, or why do you watch Tyrone Magnus? A 30-year-old guy living with his mother. No good looking guy, no nothing. But he's jealous because someone's so successful that he knows good and well he's never gonna be like. Do you understand? When I was able to scrape that bird shit off me, I saw like more doors open because I wasn't with such a toxic type of dude like that anymore. And it's not just friends. There are some family members who they will see you once you kind of leave them and you go into bigger and better things. They'll try and draw you back because that was not how the plan. That's not how it was put in stone for you to succeed. What do they always say? Misery wants company. So I don't give a fuck if it's family or friends. Cut away negative people in your life. As I said, the third one is definitely handling relationships. As I said, it's been very hard for a lot of people being stuck inside and then having to go socialize with people on days they wouldn't leave, you wouldn't usually socialize with. So always handle your relationships. Find alternative ways to still communicate to your friends and family, to the ones you need to speak to effectively, for sure. And as I said, that goes on to definitely if you want to say like your health and how you feel, your mentality, save some days for you. I think it's really important, especially with all of these um, self deletions that happened just last year and these high profile particular type of people. Have some days for you. Honestly, have days where I'm not saying to do nothing, but you have stuff that you want to do. No one's telling you what to do, and you can just kind of disconnect from everything because everyone needs that. Like a car, you cannot run the motor running on the like for 24 hours. It needs time to rest. Put your fuel back in, and then you go on the next day. So that's very things. And yeah, and I'll definitely say for me, 2023, I just want to 10x what I've done this last 2 years. I will honestly say these last 2 years, for a lot of people, 2020 and these like couple years now has been like really hard. Like people losing their jobs, losing loved ones, losing probably their places, losing their jobs, all of that. For me, it was a great way for me to reinvent myself. I saw what was not working before and I knew this time it was now or never. I need to find a reinvention, and I was able to do that successfully. And what I want to do is just keep on continuing on to 2023 and just keep learning, keep trying to improve myself, keep any weakness, try and make that strength, and also taking time to really understand, like, okay, what's the purpose of all this? What's the long term goal, and what I want to do. So that's what I'm saying. So I'm grateful for 2022. I'm grateful for everyone who's been stay tuned, watching Rich Man Z. As I said, stay tuned for more content's gonna come. And I also say I have another channel for all the travels that I've been doing now through North America, and there will be more places I'm gonna be traveling to next year. I have a secondary channel called Richard Travel Vlogs. Links will be in the description. Definitely subscribe, share, like, comment. I may have said that in the wrong order, but I would definitely would love to. Definitely, if you love like traveling, go check that channel out. So yeah, folks, drop a comment. Let me know how 2022 was for you. Let me know what's your plans for 2023. And yeah, honestly, yeah, stay safe. Definitely stay healthy, stay concentrated, get your paper right, and update your wallet. And this is Richie Rich signing off from 2022, 2023. 2023 will be a mejor años, will be a better year. Let's go.